Wonderful to see so many people here this evening.
Okay.
We're going to commence our service with the candle lighting on page 120. I've invited the small family, that's their last name, not a characteristic, um, to come and to light the Shabbat candles to begin our service. Page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
And so let us just take a moment, if we can, to transition from the weekday, what's called in Hebrew chol, ordinary, the days of the week where we work, we come home, we have dinner, we do all the things in a sort of ordinary way that really make up a life. And whereas Shabbat, we are taught to let go of all of that and to create a feeling of inner peace as well as peace within the community. Within peace, we pray for the world, which is desperately, we all know, in need of peace. And when we reflect on the word Shabbat Shalom, that's really what it's all about, is the Shabbat, the Sabbath. And I think this is true regardless of one's faith, is the Sabbath is not only a day of holiness, it is a day of hope and a day where we pray for a sense of completeness. So let us just for a moment, before we continue our service, let's transition into our service by just closing our eyes and just taking a minute or two to reflect and to feel the spirit of Shabbat, of rest, engulf us. a part of our service, the Kabbalat Shabbat, the acceptance of Shabbat, is created by recitation, reflection on Psalms. Psalms are believed to comfort the heart and allow us to focus on those things that are eternal in life. So on page 130, a prelude to this beautiful Lechunu Adonai, which we'll sing shortly, Psalm 95, verses 1 through 7 on page 130 and 131. Can read with me? Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai. Raise a shout for our rock and deliverer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song. For Adonai is a great God, the great ruler of all divine beings. In God's hands are the depths of the earth. The peaks of the mountains are God's. God's is the sea. God made it, and the land which God's hands fashion. Come, let us bow down and kneel, bend the knee before Adonai, our Maker. For Adonai is our God, and we are the people God tends, the flock in God's care. Oh, if you would but heed God's charge this day. Again, this was included in the town in Tzfat back in the 16th century. A series of psalms were selected, and they entitled as a prelude to the evening service, Kabbalat Shabbat, the acceptance of Shabbat. To focus, and this prayer focuses on God, the eternal nature of God's, and the expression of a deep hope of a God who cares for humankind and cares for the children of Israel, and that we submit to being a flock, as it were, in God's care. L'chu Noranana Adonai, page 130.
We'll sing for the first paragraph of the Hebrew. This one's lively, so I encourage everyone to sing along. Lechu neranana, lechu neranana, lechu neranana, Adonai. Lechu neranana, lechu neranana, lechu neranana, Adonai. Naria, naria, litzur yishelu lekamafa, na betoda. Naria, naria, litzur yishelu bemitokariano. Lechu neranana, lechu neranana, lechu neranana, Adonai. Lechu neranana, lechu neranana, lechu neranana, Adonai. Lechu neranana, lechu neranana, lechu neranana, Adonai. Lechu neranana, lechu neranana, lechu neranana, Adonai.
And let us turn now to page 138, Lachadodi, which snuck in which was snuck into Kabbalat Shabbat, the service. There was a poet who wanted his poetry to be included in the liturgy, apparently. Shlomo Halevi, and Lachadodi got snuck in here because we're reading all of Psalms, not all of them, but reading portions of Psalms as part of the service. That was the original design. And Lachadodi, which was a human creation, it was not from the Book of Psalms, so not from the Jewish Bible, but rather this author's poem, Lachadodi. We chant the first two verses, which reference in the Torah the remembrance and the guarding of Shabbat. Verse 2, of course, is the greeting of Shabbat. Let us come and do that just as we came to Mount Sinai. And in the last verse is once again a prayer for peace. Let's page 138, first two verses. And then when we get to verse 9 on page 139, we'll rise.
This may be a new version for some of you. I think you'll catch on at least to the repeated part, so sing along.
closing this part of our service, the Kabbalat Shabbat, with the Chatzi Kaddish, meaning sanctification. It's part of the full Kaddish, but it's only half because the Kabbalat Shabbat service, which we just did, was our creation. So we do half a Kaddish because this part of the service was something that we as human beings created. 144, the Chatzi Kaddish, followed by the Baruch Hu, which introduces the evening service.
יתגדל ויתקדש מרבי בימד יברח ילתי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב וימרו יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ביעלמה
You may be seated. Let us turn now to page 150 and let us join in prayer. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people, Israel. Please rise for the Shema, our declaration of faith, page 152 and 153. Let us turn now and join in prayer together. Page 161, the second paragraph. The prelude to the beautiful Hashkivenu, which will be chanted. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Hashkivenu.
This particular Hashkivenu has both Hebrew and English, so I want to encourage people to sing whichever you feel comfortable, or both. The English will be the first two lines on page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. The Hebrew will be taken from the first two lines on page 160 of the Hashkivenu. And you'll see how it goes.
And with that as a prelude to the tefillah, the central part of every service, the tefillah meaning the prayer, the petitional prayer, and then the reflections on Shabbat that will follow. On page 164, and again, this passage here is taken from Psalms. God, open up my lips so that my mouth may tell of your praise. The psalmist is writing about the sense of awe as we imagine and think of ourselves in relation to God. We begin page 164. Please rise.
Adonai sefatai tifta ufia kita ilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak. HaKadosh, Veshimcha Kadosh, U'Kedoshim V'Koyom Yehalelu Selah. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Just a point of technicality during that time. Normally we don't, but let us focus first on the Shabbat that's in the silent part of the service that follows. Let's turn to page 172. Just these two paragraphs. Let us join in prayer and then have a moment of silence. You set aside the seventh day for your name, the pinnacle of creation. Page 172. Let's read together. And you blessed it above all other days, more sacred than all festival times. So it is written in your Torah, the heaven and the earth were finished and all their array. On the seventh day, God had completed the work that had been made, ceasing then on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, and ceased from all the creative work that God had chosen to do. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot, and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness, and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant as our heritage your holy Shabbat, that Israel, who sanctifies your name, may rest on it. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. And we'll continue just in silent meditation. We continue now with Shalom Rav, grant abundant peace to Israel, to the world, your people forever. For you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people, Israel, and all of humankind in every season and moment with your peace.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki
Shabbat Shalom to everyone. I'm going to begin with a story that I heard while watching the movie, an old movie. I'm dating myself, you'll excuse me. Charlie Wilson's War. It's about when the United States supplied rebels with weapons during the Russian invasion of Afghanistan. And they eventually, because of the weaponry that we provided, the Russians were driven out. And it was not the executive branch that did that. It was Congress and a few people in Congress that organized. So the movie it's a good movie to watch. I recommend it. It's with Tom Hanks. So, I mean, how can you go wrong and so forth. But at the end, Tom Hanks, who plays Charlie Wilson, it's based on a true story, has this big party, and rightfully so, in his big condominium, big party, big celebration. And the CIA officer who helped coordinate all of this is sitting on a balcony. And and Charlie Wilson comes, why aren't you celebrating things? You should be drinking. This is the time for celebration. The Russians have left Afghanistan. And the CIA agent says, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, says, let me tell you a story. Once there were these people in a village, and there was a little boy in the village, about 11, 12 years old, and he was beloved by everyone. He was very, very kind-hearted, and people just naturally loved this little boy. And on his birthday, the town bought him a horse. And the little boy got on the horse and riding around in the horse in all of his glory and happiness, and the town is cheering, and they go up to the Zen master of the village, and they said, isn't this wonderful? Look at how great this boy is, how happy he is, and how happy we are. And the Zen master says, we'll see. A couple of days go by, or really a couple months go by, and he's riding on his horse, and he falls off the horse and he breaks his leg, and he's in tremendous pain. And the boy, it has to heal, of course. And the towns run to the Zen master and they say, isn't this terrible? Our beloved little boy, he broke his leg. And the Zen master says, we'll see. About 3 or 4 months later, he's now 13, 14, and he's limping. And all of a sudden, the king comes to conscript young boys into the army for 30 years. And they look at they check out the young boy who's beloved, and he doesn't get conscripted because he can't really walk very well. And the townspeople run up to him and they say, see, isn't this such a great thing? He's now not going to have to go off to war, so serve in the king's army for all that time and so forth. And the Zen master says, we'll see. And that's an introduction, believe it or not, I'm going to tie this together, to the portion of the week. Because the portion is called Re'eh, see. That's the title of the portion. And Moses is telling the children of Israel, see, I have set before you the blessing and the curse. The good life, so to speak, by following Torah and commandments, and the curses that will befall you if you do not follow the dictates, if you do not follow Torah, the virtues of the Torah that are mentioned, that are referred to. And I reflected on this. I juxtaposed the two stories together, and I thought, what is it that Moses is really saying here? Is it really that black and white? What appears sometimes in life to be a curse, to be a hardship, years later actually turns out to be something that was good, that we actually benefited from a hard time, a difficult time that we went through. And what looked to be a curse at the time, actually in retrospect turned out to be a blessing. It built our character in some meaningful way. We became different as a result. And likewise, it's the opposite, with regards to curses. What seems to be a blessing. How so? A person can be blessed with abundant wealth and can shower their children with all the wonderful gifts that wealth brings and all the opportunities. But we know that that can turn into a curse, right? Success can turn into a curse. And so this fluctuation between what's a blessing and what is a curse, when we look at the big picture, when we look at the totality of life, is not always so clear. And there is in this portion, two very interesting phrases that just exemplify this kind of contradiction, as it were, between what we think is a blessing at the time, can actually be, if we're not careful, can turn into a curse. And of course, what seems to be a curse at a particular time can actually, in retrospect, become a blessing. That contradiction, that tension. And this Torah portion has a very interesting two contradictory passages. And it has to be in its regards to those who are in need. And we look at the surface of it, we say, well, it's talking about charity, providing for those in need. When you come into the promised land, and this is what Moses says, there shall be no needy among you, since the Lord your God will bless you in the land which the Lord your God is giving you as a hereditary portion. That's Plout's translation. He's always very, very formal and so forth. Now, there's another verse which seems to suggest that if you follow the commandments, there's not going to be any poverty among you, right? There shall be no needy among you, since the Lord your God will bless you in the land. Everything is going to be good. And yet, if we go to the 7 verses later, it says, for there will never cease to be needy ones in your land, which I command you, open your hand to the poor and needy kinsmen in your land. So we have these two contradictions, right? One says there's not going to be any poor in your land. And the other verse, it says, there will never cease to be those in need. Poverty is always going to be there. And I just happened to do some research on that verse, and I came across a very strange midrash, and I'm not sure that I understand what it means, but they wrestle with these two contradictions. And they do it by telling a story. And I'd like to read the story to you, and then share some ideas with you about being Jewish and what are Jewish values. My rabbi taught me that sometimes when you look at commentary, when you read what I'm about to read to you, not only do you get a deeper understanding of the verses that come into play, but you create a new Torah. You create from the literature that is commenting on it and the actual Torah itself, you get a new Torah. And so let me share the story with you. Lipa and Rabbi Yochanan studied the Torah together. They were in very poor circumstances and even in want of food. So they said, let us rise and go into business, thereby maintaining what is written. Indeed, there shall be no needy man among thee. Right? Follow that? In other words, they're poor, they don't have any money, so to fulfill the verse that there shouldn't be poverty amongst you, they're going to go out and go into business. So they betook themselves and sat down beneath an unsafe wall and began to eat. Soon 2 angels appeared, and Rabbi Yochanan heard one of them say to the other, let us throw the wall down upon them and kill them, for they are about to neglect eternal life, which is referred to as study, and busy themselves with temporary life, i.e. business. But the other angel replied, let them alone, for there is one of them whom the time will help and who will shortly become great. Rabbi Yochanan heard this, but Lippah did not. And the former asked, did the master hear anything? In other words, Rabbi Yochanan, Lippah saying to Rabbi Yochanan, nay, I heard nothing, replied Lippah. So Rabbi Yochanan thought, because I heard it and Lippah did not, in all probability, I am the one to whom the time will succor, to whom the time will eventually help. And he said to Lippah, I have considered it and will return to continue the study of the Torah, thus fulfilling another passage, for the needy will not cease out of the land. In other words, you don't make money out of studying Torah. You're not supposed to earn a living. That's my weakness. You really aren't supposed to do that. It almost goes with the territory that you're supposed to be poor. You're not supposed to make a great living from the study of Torah, from trying to live Torah. For the needy will not cease out of the land. Thus, Rabbi Yochanan returned to his studies, and Lippah engaged himself in business. Two different things. By the time Lippah returned from a business trip, Rabbi Yochanan had become the chief of the college, became the chief of the yeshiva, the house of learning. The scholars afterwards, when Lippah returned, said to Lippah, if you had stayed here with us and had continued to study the Torah, we would have made you the chief of the college. And to prove that he was still a great scholar, he went and he hung himself, not hung like in neck, upon the mast of a ship and said, let anyone ask me a law from any of the rules of Rabbi Chia, from any of the teachings of Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Oshaya, and if I do not show the Mishnaic origin of that law, not very technical, I shall fall down from the mast of the ship into the water. And one scholar thereupon came and asked him, and then it stops. The Midrash stops. We don't know what the question is that he's going to ask, and we don't know whether Lippah is going to be able to answer the question. It just stops. And so what are the values that are in this little story based on the Torahitic portion? First of all, that there shall be no needy among you, that all of us have an obligation to go out and make a living. It doesn't mean that God is going to give you all this stuff, right? And it's all going to be great. This is how the tradition reads it. You have to go and you have to make a living. You can't intentionally make yourself poor. You can't do that. In other words, the mitzvah is not a passive mitzvah. It's a proactive mitzvah. And yet, there's always going to be needy among you. But look at how they define needy. The needy is the person who's trying to live a truly virtuous life under Jewish values of studying Torah. What is Torah? It's not just this. It's, as Maimonides teaches us, it's behind the words on the page. It's looking for something deeper in life. And somehow that journey can sometimes be without financial reward. And so that concludes with my reading of this is that you need both. They don't operate in isolation of one to another. The materialism versus the spirituality, they don't operate in a community in isolation. You actually need both. Everyone has to have the value of Torah, not Torah like, just reading and learning like that, but thinking deeply about life, about the values that are intrinsic, that are the words behind the Torah. Everyone needs to do that. And the people that do that more, there may not be the types of financial rewards of being in business, of earning a fair amount of money. But that too is needed. And what also is needed is for the people who have accumulated wealth, that they have that same drive. And that's what builds a community, not one or the other. One is not more virtuous in the eyes of this little midrash than the other. We need the business people, and we need people who have this deep search for ideals in virtue, i.e. Torah. Shabbat Shalom. We are so blessed to have these two, really. Thank you for that beautiful meditation. That meditation was called Shiviti. Now let's turn to page 371 for the Misha Beirach prayer. We pray for the healing of Dr. John Johnson, Sheila Ross, Harold Fink, Emily Fink, Drew Pasaglia, David Cherniak, Ann Miller, Amy Sundberg, Mary Elizabeth Parry, Elaine Berman, James Perry, Howard Silverman, Sandy Cook, and Andy Tomsick. Is there anyone who you would like to add to our prayers for healing who's not on our list? Thank
Amen.
Please rise for the Aleinu, page 586.
We keep the kids out. Aleinu l'shavei Adon hakol, lateit gedula le'otzeh breshit, shelo asanu kegayim ha'atzot, ve'lo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam kelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kekol ha'olam. V'anagnu korim u'mishtavim u'modim lifnei melech malkei hamlakim hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar le'haya Adonai le'melech ha'aretz hayom hahu yihye Adonai echad u'shemo
I want to do Yesh Kokuvin after the. You may be seated. Before I read the names of those whose yahrzeit it is this past week, after I read the names, we're going to there's a beautiful song in the before the recitation of the Kaddish called Yesh Kochavim, and that will be sung. And then when that is completed, then we will all rise and we will recite the Kaddish. First, we want to express our deepest condolences to Larry and Leslie Miller on the passing of their mother, Helen Miller, who was brought to her eternal rest this past week. May God comfort the two of you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. And we also want to express our condolences to Mel and Odette Sternberg on the passing of their great-grandson, Rafi Breen. As you know, he's been on our Misha Berach list. He was very ill at that time, and we all extend our condolences to the Sternberg family. This week we observed the yahrzeits of Becky Friedlander, Julian Marks, Jerry Schlosser, Eleanor Ruth Frankel, Lucille Zelniker Herman, Ruben Camille, Erich Schunderbeek, Melvin Bauer, and Irving Jacob Buckman. Is there anyone observing a yahrzeit or saying Kaddish for someone who they wish to remember at this time?
There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light. Long after the star itself fades on. And so it is with people that we love. Their memories keep
Kaddish, please rise, page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei rabah v'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabah mevorach leolam ule'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitala v'yitalal shemei dekudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May God, who establisheth peace unto the heavens, grant peace and comfort in the hearts of all who mourn, and let us say, Amen. You may be seated. I want to now welcome to the Bima Diana Kubat, who's our first vice president. We only have one actually right now, so she's the first, but and is a wonderful board member, and of course provides a great service to our community, and she will deliver the announcements for this evening.
So, the office will be closed on Monday, September 2nd in observance of Labor Day. On Thursday, September 5th at 6:30 p.m., Reverend Herbert Brisbane III is going to lead a panel discussion with a Q&A topic of Blacks and Jews, the audacity of standing together. And in attendance will be David Kern, Michael Jackson, and Dr. David Miola. The event is going to be held at the Historic Avenue Cultural Center, and additional details can be found in the high notes. We are also going to have a joint service next Friday, that's September 6th. It's going to be held at the Shoal, and that's going to be at 6:00 p.m. And Reverend Herbert Brisbane III of Dillard University is going to be the special guest for that. And then lastly, I just want to give a huge thank you to everybody that showed up this past Sunday to help clean up the temple. Because of you, we were able to get a lot done. And so thank you for your time and for everything that you did. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
So we'll continue now with the Kiddush on page 123. Anne, would you like to lead us? Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzav Shabbat kadsho, v'ahava uvratzon, in kilanu, zikaron l'maseh, v'reishit, ki hu yom tehillah, l'mikrae kodesh, zeker l'tzion, Mitzrayim, Kiva Shabbat koshika be'ahava u'ratzon im kaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
Are you ready? We're going to sing with me. Come on up here. Okay, look at all the people. Okay, you ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ha'motzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
No, they got the breads, but thank you. Thank you, and you may be seated. We're going to conclude our service following our service this evening. Thank you. There's a wonderful Kiddush to follow, wonderful oneg. Hope all of you can join us. We also want to welcome virtually Shirley Boyd, Mel and Odette Sternberg, Alex, Maggie, my wife, Hannah, Lynn DeLuca, Kate and Cody Drummond, Pinky and David Cherniak, James Perry, Randy Fry, Marion, all the way from Chicago. That's Carol Eberlein's daughter, I believe. Marion Birkin, Priscilla Gold Darby, Leonard Wells, and Harvey and Sandra Gandler. So welcome. And this past week, we celebrated the birthdays of Cole Appleman, Lauren Loeb, Cody Drummond, Tammy Fulford. Today is the birthday of Amy Walsh Holberg, and tomorrow is the birthday of Leah Brown. And also celebrating anniversaries this week, Judy and Paul Bergman. Is that? Yeah, congratulations. Amy and Jack Friedlander, Joyce and Gerald Tubiana. And today is the anniversary of Iris and Nate Ginsburg. So we wish them all well. We're going to conclude our service now, and I want to thank everyone here for coming. And once again, please feel free to join us for the oneg, which is in the library. We want to thank Greg and, of course, our cantorial soloist Molly and her daughter and all the other and Ari. Ari, right. For making our service so young in spirit. Lively, good word. We're going to conclude our service with Shir Hadash, a new song on page 648.
648. I'm going to ask them, since they're all up on the beam, if they're going to help me sing. You ready?
Sing unto God.
Thank you. Hey, and Mayan, welcome back from camp. Shabbat shalom to everyone. This concludes our service.